We're very lucky at Hard Rock. I mean, our brand is a great fun brand to work with. It's irreverent. We're allowed to be a bit cheeky. We're allowed to talk to people like humans. So it's very easy for us compared to someone like BT where they have to, make sure they're not offending people. Obviously, we have to as well, but we can play around with it a bit more. So I do think it's easier for some brands. But then again, your target audience is very different as well. So I mean, the target audience, people don't want to communicate with BT for a laugh, they're looking for answers, questions to be answered, and solutions really, where people are speaking to brands like Hard Rock more for engagement and fun engagement of that. So it is different.
But I think personality is not just the domain of consumer brands. I think there are some really great examples of B2B brands that have done so well by having just amazing personalities on social networks, and probably the best example I can think of is a company called Xero, and they're an accounting software company, competitor to Sage and those kinds of very dry. Target market is primarily accountants and the accounting function in small businesses, and their whole kind of approach to social media is extremely engaging, and it builds loyalty. I mean, I'm not there, I don't work for them, but I'm probably one of their biggest advocates.
I think though as well, it's like you're saying, they've got a good product, but I think as good an asset as we touched on earlier is the personalities within the brand who set that tone, who themselves, like if you look at Lawrence, who's head of UKFast, I have a direct route to Lawrence that I would have never had in the past, which is follow him on Twitter. I can have direct access to that level of entrepreneur, which is, that's just as a general user, take away your PR and your marketing hats, that's quite cool, and that makes me want to engage. And UKFast, predominantly it's B2B relationships. So I think that the people within it, I mean, one of my clients is a property developer, and they have a very distinct chairman at the top of the brand who just wild card in a way, but in a very endearing way on social media. And again, it's people having a direct route to somebody like him. The tone he sets became the brand voice, and so on and so forth. So people do want to interact.
You come back to the emotive thing. You don't want, if it's B2B, you want to follow you want to follow these people because there's an emotional attachment to it. If you can't do it from, because you mentioned at the beginning about this is an add-on for having a good product, and people will follow it because they like the product and the personality comes after. But yeah, if it's a B2B thing and it's a dry product that you're trying to push, I think that's a great asset, having somebody that you either admire or that you want a direct line of communication with. I think the brands that do that well, you're more likely to follow the CEO or the MD than the standard corporate communications.
I think it's also looking at the role of social media as a thought leadership platform more in the B2B space. So think about the LinkedIn influencers. That doesn't all have to be humorous or playful. It's about going somewhere to get knowledge from people who are the best in their field in the world, and using that to acquire and build your own knowledge and share that equity on. That kind of gives you a bit of a halo effect of, I'm reading this, and I was the first one to share this, and so I think that's a role to think about as well. We did some research on the CEO's use of social media earlier this year, the social CEO, and looking at kind of benchmarking that from last year, and there's been a massive increase in the amount that that CEOs are using social media, but also thinking about the impact on internal audiences from an employee engagement perspective. And this was a global piece of research, and I think it was 76% of the global executives who responded to that felt positively about CEOs having a role in the social media space, having their own blog. And obviously that's about a blog that is maintained regularly, and it really genuinely contains thought leadership content that resonates and reflects back to the brands. But it doesn't all have to be the sort of fun piece. It's also about that learning platform as well, which I think for a B2B audience is really important.
Your future is our business.